All right, this is Commission President Ryan Calkins convening the regular meeting of April 14th, 2026. The time is 10:30 a.m. We're meeting in person today at the Port of Seattle headquarters building, Commission chambers, and virtually on Microsoft Teams. All commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioners Fellman and Cho, and they are currently gathered in the executive session room awaiting the opening of the public meeting. We'll now recess into the executive session to discuss 3 items regarding litigation, potential litigation, litigation and legal risk. Ooh, I forgot I should have my camera on for this. Sorry, folks. With one of those items regarding national security per RCW 4230-110-1AI, and another regarding the sale or lease of real estate per RCW 4230-110-1C for approximately 60 minutes. We'll reconvene into public session at 12 p.m. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. And then let's just go ahead and I'll note that we are in formal recess, and you can just hop over to that executive session line now and join your colleagues there.
Great. See you over there.
Thank you.
This is Commission President Ryan Calkins reconvening the regular meeting of April 14th, 2026. The time is 12:07 p.m. We're meeting in person today at the Port of Seattle headquarters building, Commission chambers, and virtually on Microsoft Teams. Clerk Hart, can you please call the roll of all commissioners in attendance?
Yes, beginning with Commissioner Calkins.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Hasagawa. Commissioner Mohammed.
Here.
Thank you. And calling again for Commissioner Hasagawa.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You do have a quorum, Mr. Commission President.
Thank you, Clerk Hart. A couple of housekeeping items for everyone in the meeting room. Please turn your cell phone to silent. For anyone participating on Microsoft Teams, please mute your speakers when not actively speaking or presenting. Please keep your cameras off unless you're a commissioner or a member of staff participating virtually and are actively addressing the commission. Members of the public addressing the commission during public comment may turn on their cameras when their name is called to speak. For anyone at the dais, please turn off your computer speakers and silence your devices. Please also remember to address your request to speak through the chair and wait to speak until you have been recognized. All of the items noted here will ensure a smoother meeting. All votes today will be taken by the roll call method or by general consent, so it is clear for anyone participating virtually how votes are cast. We are meeting on the ancestral lands and waters of the Coast Salish people with whom we share a commitment to steward these natural resources for future generations. This meeting is being digitally recorded and may be viewed or heard at any time on the Port's website and may be rebroadcast by King County Television. Please stand to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Commission President, just noting that we do have a couple members of the public here in chambers joining us today. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item of business today is approval of the agenda. As a reminder, if a commissioner wishes to make a general comment for or against an item on the consent agenda, it is not necessary to pull that item for separate discussion. Rather, a commissioner may offer general supporting or opposing comments later in this meeting as we get to that part of the agenda. However, it is appropriate if a commissioner wants to ask questions of staff or wishes to have a dialogue on a consent agenda item to request the item be pulled for separate discussion at this time. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent agenda or any motions to rearrange the orders of the day? Okay, seeing none, the question is now on approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Is there any objection to approval of the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Next on our agenda is the Executive Director's report. Executive Director Metric, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Calkins. Good afternoon, Commissioners. We are now in April, and the pace of operations is picking up as the weather warms up. Many people from our region are expected to travel through our gateways this week for a busy spring break travel period. Demand is strong, and SEA is experiencing elevated passenger volumes during this peak period. As a notice to the public, travelers are encouraged to plan ahead, including proceeding directly to the 8th floor of the parking garage for the best chance to find a spot. Strong demand is evident through the return of Cathay Pacific Airways' restoration of year-round service between Seattle and Hong Kong. The carrier plans to operate 5 weekly nonstop flights from SEA. This addition contributes to 6 new international services launching in 2026, expanding SEA's global connectivity to more than 60 international routes. Travelers through SEA will notice this week that the construction wall or demising wall for our Sea Concourse expansion project will transition to portable partitions. And this is a symbol as work continues almost around the clock to meet this milestone project as we're working to open it in the facility in time for the FIFA World Cup. Maritime also celebrated a major capital project milestone with the opening of berths 6 and 8 at Terminal 91. This milestone restores more than 700 feet of pier space to service and strengthens long-term infrastructure supporting the North Pacific fishing fleet as the team welcomed American Seafood's 336-foot Northern Jaeger arriving from Dutch Harbor earlier this month. In other maritime news, in just 3 days, we will be welcoming another vessel to our facilities. The first cruise ship of the 2026 season will be marked by the arrival of the Norwegian Jade at Pier 66 on April 17th. This port of call visit will be the first of the expected 330 cruise calls this year. Thank you all to the staff that have worked tirelessly to prepare us for yet another busy cruise season. Finally, since our last meeting, I've issued budget guidance to port staff to put us on a path towards a more resource-conscious culture in order to be ready for the future. I previewed these principles at the Commission Budget Retreat earlier this year, but the couple that I want to reiterate here are critical, and that is aligning expense growth with forecasted revenue by setting expense growth caps, and implementing a modified zero-based budget to establish priorities, and effectively utilizing existing positions to accomplish the prioritized work. I have also emphasized these resource-conscious strategies in my recent town hall with all staff. As we begin to prepare for business planning in the 2027 budget season, small changes now can yield big positive results in the future, and that's what we're focused on. Turning to today's commission meeting, I'd like to highlight a few items. On our consent agenda, we have an action that adds scope to the places of worship component of our sound insulation program, and note that staff will return with an update on the overall program at some point later this year. We also have an item related to the closeout costs for our new Maritime Innovation Center at Fisherman's Terminal. And under presentations and staff reports, we will hear from the City of Bellevue about a new tax increment financing district. Commissioners, finally, I'd like to take a moment to say a few words to recognize Port of Seattle Police Department Chief Michael Villa on the occasion of his upcoming retirement and his contributions during this time here at the port. Thank you, Chief, for joining us. Commissioners, if you give me the privilege just to say a few words. And I'd like to thank Chief for being here with us today. Chief Villa has been with us since he joined the Port of Seattle Police Department in October 2017 and was selected to serve as Chief in August 2022. His time here culminates more than 36 years of law enforcement experience, beginning with his career in 1990 with the City of Tukwila Police Department, where he became chief of the department in 2011. Chief Villa grew up in Tukwila and Sea-Tac area and maintains deep ties to the South King County community. Since joining the port, Chief Villa has provided sturdy and steadfast leadership and helped strengthen the department in several key areas. He led the development of the department's strategic plan, helping clarify long-term priorities and positioning the organization to respond to evolving public safety needs. He established an officer welfare program to better support employee health, resilience, and long-term workforce sustainability of the officers in the department. He strengthened the department's counterterrorism capabilities with the creation of a dedicated counterterrorism division, helping ensure the port remains prepared for emerging threats along the entire continuum up to terrorism. Under his leadership, the department achieved and continues to maintain Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies certification. This places the Port Police Department among the small group of only 8 accredited law enforcement agencies in Washington state. Chief Villa has also emphasized community-centered policing and partnership-based approaches to public safety. The SEA CARES program, which began as a pilot, established a model to better support individuals in crisis while improving safety outcomes across port properties. And I note that there have been challenges during his tenure as chief, as he has led the department through a period of significant change, including the COVID-19 pandemic and the evolving national and local dialogue on policing following the murder of George Floyd. Following the murder of George Floyd, as following commission direction, he led a policing assessment that aligned with national reforms, and he implemented the recommended actions of that assessment, and he has supported the port's work to combat human trafficking. He also strengthened recruitment resources to help attract and retain high-quality candidates in a very competitive labor market. Chief Villa has prioritized strong regional partnerships that enhance coordinated response capabilities, including collaboration with Valley SWAT, Civil Disturbance Unit, Bomb Disposal Unit, Explosive Detection Canine Teams, Hostage Negotiation Teams, the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, the Marine Patrol Unit, the Dive Team, and the Valley Independent Investigations Team. He has supported modernization of policing tools, including the increased use of body-worn cameras and strengthened trusted working relationships with key partners such as TSA, CBP, Aviation Security, and Human Resources. Overall, Chief Villa has brought strong operational leadership and a clear commitment to officer well-being, community trust, and continuous improvement. He is a valuable leader, and he's laid a solid foundation of leadership that continues to strengthen the Port of Seattle's Police Department's readiness, partnerships, and alignment with the port's values of safety, equity, and accountability. So I want to thank Chief. I want to thank you for your contribution to the port and law enforcement community at large. And I want to wish you, your wife Peggy, and your family that includes 4 children and only 13 grandchildren, wishing you the best in this next phase of your life. And I have to say, it's been an honor to serve with you, and I look forward to hearing about great things that you're going to do in the future. So with that, thank you, Commissioners, for giving me an opportunity to say that.
Thank you, Executive Director Metric. I do want to give commissioners an opportunity to say some remarks as well. And then Chief Villa, if you have any parting comments, we'd love to hear your thoughts too. So with that, Commissioner Hasegawa, Commissioner Mohammed, do either of you want to? I see Commissioner Hasegawa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief Villa, the last 4 years of your leadership at POSPD have just been so important. It has been an honor to see you leading this department with such integrity and such clarity about what really matters, which is the safety and the well-being of everyone who passes through our gateway. Thank you so much for your maintained communication, for your spirit of collaboration. When we voted as a commission to confirm your appointment, I said then about the importance of strong leadership in a hierarchical institution like a police department, how much leadership matters. And you, sir, are second to none. Your time at the Port of Seattle has been a success, and the Port of Seattle is better for it. There's always more work to do, and we're far from perfect. But you can retire knowing that you have paved the way for the good work to continue. Thank you so much for everything that you've given, because it comes at tremendous expense and sacrifice, and for you and for your family. I know that if this was an in-person meeting today, your family would be standing with you, the way they stood with you when we confirmed your appointment. And here we are on the other side of that tenure, sir. And I hope that they get the best of you in this next phase of life. That I hope for you will be truly the most fulfilling of all. Good wishes to you in retirement, and congratulations.
Commissioner Mohammed.
Those are hard words to follow. So let me just start by saying I echo everything that Commissioner Hasagawa has said. Chief Villa, congratulations on your retirement and your incredible career of service. And as someone who's also from South King County and who grew up here, it means a great deal to recognize your leadership, your legacy. I find pride in that you come from our community and you strengthen it. There's so much talent in the work that you've done. I've appreciated being able to reach out to you and to talk to you about a number of different things while I've been at the port, and just wanting to say thank you so much for the work that you have done. Your impact goes beyond a badge. It lives in the people that you've mentored, the people's lives that you've impacted at the Port of Seattle, and the community relationships that you've built, and the path you've helped pave for the next generation of young people who are interested in joining the law enforcement. And so congratulations on your retirement. I hope you enjoy your time. Thanks.
Chief, I wish I could steal everyone else's remarks. I agree wholeheartedly with everything that's been said. And I also just want to acknowledge that the position you hold is one of the hardest executive positions we have at the Port of Seattle, because it is a combination of both the position that oversees people who are tasked with deploying the only legitimate state use of force, and at the same time sitting in the political hot seat all the time. And you have done that with grace and composure and poise, and have fostered a culture within the police department that reflects the values of the Port of Seattle institution. And so let me just leave it with that and say best wishes to you. Thank you so much for your service. We aren't going to forget you. We really appreciate what you've done for our institution. And I do want to provide you the floor to say any parting remarks.
Thank you, Commissioner President. And thank you, everyone, and Executive Director Metric, the other commissioners, Commissioner Hasagawa and Mohammed, and just appreciate very much, those very, very kind and generous remarks. As you were talking, and Executive Director Metric, as you were talking about the various different specific accomplishments and things that have really occurred over the last several years, certainly as I was a chief and overseeing the department, it really has been a team effort, and it takes strong partnerships. And I really appreciate the confidence, Executive Director Metric, that you and at the time Dave Soike had, the commissioners, as you confirmed that appointment, that you placed in me. And I feel very honored and privileged. It has truly been a gift to be able to serve in law enforcement for 36 years, 27 of those at Tukwila, and then the last just over 8 here at the Port of Seattle, and to be able to lead this department. I'm thankful to God for that, but I'm thankful for the opportunities that you've given me as well in being able to serve in that capacity. One of the things that has, and Commissioner Hasagawa, you touched on this, one of the things that has really been a joy for me has been just the ability to impact those communities, both at Tukwila and the Sea-Tac area, South King County, in work that I've done there, and then also at the Port of Seattle, to really make those communities, to contribute to and make those communities safer and to improve that quality of life that, you know, the visitors and travelers, employees, and everyone would have as they came through our gateways, and also just the community. And so it's been a blessing, and I'm just so thankful for the opportunities that I've been able to have during this journey. And also want to thank the executive leadership team as well. That's just been super supportive. And I know once you start naming people, you can't, it's kind of dangerous because then you're going to forget somebody. So I'm not going to try to name everyone, but Kathy Roeder, I want to call her out as well because she has been really helpful from the time when I first began and took over as the acting chief of police, and then was the interim, and then the full-time or the appointed chief, and just navigating some of the communications and helping to develop partnerships. And so thank you, Kathy. And I'm going to stop there because I'll start naming people, and then again, I'm going to forget to say somebody, but the whole entire executive leadership team. I am thankful as I've come to this point of retiring that I'm leaving the commission and the executive leadership team with a very professional and committed command team. And we have 3 deputy chiefs, Deputy Chief Bailey and Deputy Chief Gillibo, Deputy Chief McKinney, that are phenomenal leaders. They are committed. They are high quality individuals that will continue to lead the department as well as the command team. And so I can leave just with that confidence, knowing that. I'm also leaving, and again, touching a little bit on what Executive Director Metric mentioned earlier, that I really believe that the department is in a much more capable, has greater capabilities now today than they did 4 or 5 years ago when it comes to just providing that exceptional public safety and security, both at the airport and the seaport and in our gateways. And so I'm thankful for the work that the entire department has put into that. Command team, supervisors, leaders, and the officers and the staff, the non-commissioned. I think there's we're all committed. They're all committed to doing that and to continue to do that. And so again, I leave knowing that that is in place. And then the stronger partnerships that we have now as well. And I know that those relationships will continue to be built and those partnerships, and that's going to continue to go forward as well. And then finally, I could keep talking, but I'll just wrap it up just by saying, and it was mentioned earlier too, that I'm really thankful for my family that has supported me during these many years. It's not an easy sacrifice for them. It has not been an easy sacrifice for them to make. Not just when I'm gone at work, but even when I'm at home and I'm thinking about work, and particularly with my wife, those thoughts don't discontinue. They don't turn off. They continue to meal in my mind as problem solving and trying to see how can we continue to improve the department and the communities in which we're working. So thank you. I think my wife is watching this. She said she was going to be. And so thank you, Peggy, very much. I mean, this has been we talk about partnerships. It's been a partnership and really just a team. And she has been my greatest support through all of this. And so thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Peggy. You're listening. Just wish we could be there in person with you today, Chief. We are now at committee reports. Erica Chung, Strategic Advisor, will provide the report. Erica, I'm passing it over to you.
Great. Good afternoon, Commission President Calkins, Commissioners, and Executive Director Metric. I have 3 committee reports for you today. The Audit Committee met on March 19th with Commissioners Fellman chairing the meeting and with Commission President Calkins and Public Member Sarah Holmstrom in attendance. Internal Audit Director Glenn Fernandez and his team presented audit information on the following performance audits: accounts receivable management for Fisherman's Terminal, the Public Arts Program, and the Planeware Tenant Reimbursement Agreement. Members of the committee discussed the audits and heard management's responses and actions to the audits. In addition, Director Fernandez provided the director's annual communication and separately approved an update to the 2026 audit plan. The Highline Forum met on March 25th with Tukwila Council President Armin Papian chairing the meeting. The main focus was on the regional and local planning for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, with Tukwila and other South King County cities sharing updates on their community events and preparations. The port highlighted work at SCA Airport to support expected travelers and gave an update on upgrade SCA projects. Aviation staff also provided a brief start update, including upcoming work on the Sustainable Airport Master Plan Environmental Review. On March 31st, Commissioners Calkins and Fellman convened the Sustainability, Environment, and Climate Committee. There were 2 items for discussion and briefing: an update on aviation and maritime building energy program, and a debrief of the Port Sustainable Maritime Fuel Summit held on March 17th and 18th. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. All right, at this time, the Port Commission will welcome public comment. This is an important part of our public process. Comments are received and considered by the Commission in its deliberations. Before we take public comment, Clerk Hart, can you please display the QR code to our public comment rules of procedure for members of the public providing public testimony? It is essential that these rules are followed. Written copies of the rules are available at the door in person. All right. And with that, Clerk Hart, can you please call our first speaker?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Commission President. Give me just a moment to pull open our timer. There we go. And I will start in the room with Elizabeth Burton. Welcome, Elizabeth. Please go ahead and restate your name for the record and your agenda item or topic that you're speaking on today, and then I'll start the timer.
For the record, my name is Elizabeth Burton, and my topic is the climate impact of the port's cruise business. Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Burton. I'm a Seattle resident with a PhD in mathematics. The Commission has recently received many written comments about the climate impact of your cruise business, including the following, many of which might include the following information. Last year, the ships plus the airplanes that brought most cruise passengers here emitted approximately 3 million tons of greenhouse gases. For context, this is equal to about half the annual emissions of the entire city of Seattle. Shore power eliminated less than 1% of the ship's emissions. Between 2019 and 2025, these cruise sector emissions increased almost 60%. I'm the one who came up with these numbers. I sent commissioners an email about this last week. As I mentioned in my email, I've posted my results along with the supporting data online on the website of Seattle Cruise Control, where I encourage you to look at it. I would welcome any feedback you have. I ask that you consider these numbers in every decision you make about cruise. Every time you're asked to approve another $800,000 to promote cruise around the world, and certainly every time you consider building an additional 3rd cruise terminal in Seattle. I'd like to address the claim that reducing or eliminating cruise in Seattle would not help the climate at all because the ships would just go elsewhere. I have never heard this reasoning applied to another complex global problem the port faces, sex trafficking. No one argues that reducing or eliminating sex trafficking at the Port of Seattle would be pointless because sex traffickers would just go elsewhere. On the contrary, you are not only working to stop trafficking here, but are working regionally and even nationally to help other ports stop it as well. This is commendable, and I ask that you take a similar holistic approach to reducing the harm inflicted by an ever-expanding cruise industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Burton. Clerk Hart, can you please call our next speaker?
Yes, our next speaker joining us virtually is Stacy Oaks. Stacy, please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your agenda item or topic related to the conduct of port business, and then I'll start the timer.
Yes, hello. My name is Stacy Oaks, and I'm a concerned auntie and grandmother and member of Seattle Cruise Control. As Elizabeth just said, the amount of climate pollution caused by one season of Seattle's cruise business is staggering. It keeps rising every year and is now up to 3 million metric tons. For context, this is again the same as the entire city of Seattle's reported annual climate pollution. Is half, which is the city of Seattle is at 5.7 million tons. We all need vacations. We all need time for fun, for connecting with friends, to temporarily escape our troubles. But how can Seattle residents and port commissioners celebrate and continually expand this particular kind of vacation that is so harmful? Escaping our trouble for a week shouldn't doom our children to more deadly heat waves, droughts, extreme storms, food shortages, and the death and destruction of wars for resources like water, livable terrain, and oil. A consumer demand does not excuse irresponsible decisions. I'm going to say that part again. Just because a demand exists by consumers who may not have all the information about how harmful the activity is, does not excuse co-signing the behavior, helping to promote the behavior, we should be carefully considering the next 7 generations in all of our decisions. But collectively, our actions show that we don't even prioritize our own children alive today and their future above the almighty dollar. It is our actions that matter, and right now we are failing at providing a livable future for our children. We have to change course. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oaks. Clerk Hart, next speaker.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Breck Lebeg. And Breck, please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your agenda item or topic related to the conduct of port business, and then I'll start the timer.
Thank you, President Calkins, Commissioners. I'm Dr. Breck Lebeg, co-chair of the Climate and Health Task Force of Washington Physicians for Social Responsibility. We ask you to cap cruise sailings from the port. The British medical journal Lancet said, "Climate change is the greatest threat to human health." It's not a hoax, it's true. WPSR commits to help prevent and mitigate diseases caused directly by burning fossil fuel, like ships burning dirty bunker fuel that pollutes our air and the water from the scrubbers that flush it to the sea. Most cruisers this year will fly in and out of SCA. Nearly half of those total greenhouse gases produced by a cruise vacation is from planes to Sea-Tac. Huge amounts of jet fuel exhaust are spewed into the pristine air overhead. That harms hearts and lungs of kids, moms, and seniors living near the airport. 2/3 of those are people of color and 1/3 are immigrants. UW found that their lifespans are up to 5 years shorter than ours because of that pollution. But Sea-Tac plans to add 87,000 more flights per year. Rich people flying hurts poor people's health. The transport sector is the largest source of carbon emissions in Washington. If we keep doing what we've done, we get more of what we got. Transport policy is health policy. Dirty transport fuel harms human health. It shifts the risks and the costs to the health sector. We then pay more for insurance, meds, and hospital care. So rather than expanding cruises and more flights to SCA to fill the boats, we should have and we must decrease cruises and flights. More cruisers, more flyers to buy more hotel beds and meals. That will cost all of us more disease and the dollars to treat it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lebeg. Clerk Hart, please call the next speaker.
That concludes our list of speakers here today in person and virtually, Mr. Commission President.
All right. Is there anyone else either online or in the room who wishes to speak this time? Okay. This time I'll ask Clerk Hart to please give a synopsis of any written comments we've received.
Thank you, Mr. Commission President, members of the Commission, and Executive Director Metric. We have received 53 written public comments for the meeting today. All correspondence received has been sent to commissioners and the executive director prior to this meeting and will become a part of the public record. Any correspondence that has come in prior to or after the period in which we receive public comment is forwarded to commission correspondence directly for visibility and to our public records. Approximately 48 are through the letter titled Seattle Stop Cruising Towards Climate Collapse, with additional emails being sent under a changed title and modification of some text by the sender with their own statements to support the base messaging. These titlings are Let's Work Together to Reduce the Number of Cruises, Not Sustainable Growth of Cruise Ship Travel Out of Seattle, and Stop Our Puget Sound Cruise Lines Save the Environment, which is summarized as follows. Authors are expressing distress regarding climate impacts of the Seattle cruise sector. They state the cruise ships and associated flights for the 2025 season caused about 3 million metric tons of climate pollution and compared this with the overall emissions from the city of Seattle as a whole. They opine that the damages from cruise and associated flights increases each year as more sailings are added to the schedule. The authors note that regardless of alternative fuel exploration, the port should not be increasing sailings or considering expansion of cruise until effective solutions are in place. They further note that alternative fuels will not result in substantial reductions for many years, if ever. The authors appreciate that shore power reduces harmful impacts of air pollution on port workers and near airport communities, but state that this is not a climate solution. The authors underscore that pollution needs to be reduced, and the only way to do this is to reduce the number of sailings. Some of these letters also include agreement with the statement from Dennis Hayes, founder of Earth Day, and express concern regarding the rate of global warming by 2030. List of senders include Peggy Prince, Jared Howe, Sophia Keller, Barbara Finney, Vanessa Jameson, Andrea Chin, Alexandra Harmon, Elaine Hickman, Vivian Sharples, Sarah Bliss, Bree Glenclid, Jason Lee, Charles Raymond, Wendy Osmoon, Derek Glendville, Robin Briggs, Laura Gibbons, Jen Bowen, Tom Sheehan, Jean Myers, AJ Cho, Corin Smith, Jonathan Hartman, Laura Theodorson, Graham Goldbluff, Ann Dorsey, Blaine Snow, Lauren Tozzi, Gabby Connors, Flory Rothenberg, Nicole Iroro, Linda Carroll, Susan Heff, Donna Snow, Miranda Marty, PJ Phillips, Mari Herlinger, Bria Hedal, Zane Oren, and Arun Ganti. And then moving to also adding 350 Tacoma, stating that Tacoma specifically is impacted by proliferation of fossil fuel storage, refining, and transport. The additional variations of this base messaging were sent by Jean Von Leahy, Cheryl Lawrence, Greg Stinson, Peter Sakura, Rick Harlan, and Rusty and Candace West, again totaling 48 for that particular messaging. Iris Antman also sent written public comment relating to the opening of cruise season and voicing her ongoing concern of the harms of cruise on the community's health and on the environment and climate. She too speaks of climate pollution generated by the industry in 2025, expected levels of global warming by 2030, and LNG not being a clean fuel. She speaks to the continued struggle to transition to clean energy systems, encourages the reduction in and elimination of cruise sailings, and protecting the planet for future generations. Grace Norman sent a separate email stating that the cruise economy has a massive environmental toll, including spikes in cancer rates in port cities. They state while the port talks about the economic benefit of cruise, it is more important to take action to mitigate its costs. They encourage the port to design a better system and policies. Patrick Bannon, President and CEO, Bellevue Downtown Association, and Lee Lambert, Executive Director of the Cascade Bicycle Club, both send correspondence supporting Agenda Item 11A, the City of Bellevue Grand Connection Tax Increment Area, stating that the project is a transformative infrastructure initiative situated at the critical intersection of affordable housing, car-free transportation, and equitable access to opportunity and open spaces. These priorities reflect shared commitments to fostering inclusive, sustainable, and connected communities. And then concluding with Breck Lebeg, who submitted written comments supporting their spoken comments here today. And that concludes the written comments we've received for this meeting.
Thank you, Clerk Hart. Hearing no further testimony, we're going to move on in the agenda. And our next order of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be adopted by one motion. Items removed from the consent agenda will be considered separately immediately after adoption of the remaining consent agenda items. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda covering items 8A through 8I.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
The motion was made and seconded. Commissioners, please say aye or nay when your name is called for approval of the consent agenda.
Beginning with Commissioner Hasagawa.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Mohammed.
Aye.
Thank you. And Commissioner Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you. 3 ayes, 0 nays for this item.
And with that, the motion passes. Give me a sec as I fast forward to the
Page 27.
next second. Thanks. All right, we're going to move on to new business today. This item requires that we recess the regular meeting and enter into a separate meeting of the Industrial Development Corporation. Clerk Hart, can you please read the item into the record?
Thank you. Just noting that agenda item 10A on our agenda is number not used. So this item is 10B, and that's the Industrial Development Corporation annual meeting, approval of minutes, designation of officers, and the annual report for 2025.
Okay. The commission will now recess its meeting to conduct the annual meeting of the Industrial Development Corporation of the Port of Seattle. We expect the IDC meeting to last approximately 10 minutes. And after that time, we'll reconvene our regular business meeting. The time is 12:47 p.m. And now I'll convene the annual meeting of the Industrial Development Corporation. All members of the IDC are present in attendance today, with the exception of Directors Cho and Felloman. The IDC is a special corporation maintained by the Port of Seattle for the economic development purposes defined by state law and the corporation's charter. Although it's been several years since there was new investment activity in the IDC, we hold this meeting to receive an annual report, confirm our officers, and approve minutes. During this meeting, commissioners will be acting as directors of the corporation. Executive Director Metric, you have the floor to introduce the IDC.
Directors, the IDC is a special purpose government that was established to facilitate industrial expansion through tax-exempt financing. Think of it as a conduit for private companies to access tax-exempt rates. There was no financing in 2025. Ian Burke, the senior financial analyst, is our presenter for the IDC meeting today. But first, I believe the director has some organizing business to attend to, so I'll return it back over to Director Calkins.
Thank you. Our first order of business is adoption of the IDC minutes dated April 22nd, 2025, provided in the meeting packet. Are there any objections to the meetings as presented? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. And I'll now accept a motion to confirm the IDC officers for this year. Slate of candidates for 2026 are as follows: Brian Calkins, President; Fred Fellman, Vice President; Sam Cho, Secretary; Toshiko Hasagawa, Director; and Hamdi Mohammed, Director. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded. Directors, please say aye or nay when your name is called to approve the slate of officers. Clerk Hart, go ahead and call the roll.
Thank you. Beginning with Director Hasagawa.
Aye.
Thank you. Director Mohammed.
Aye.
Thank you. And Director Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you. 3 ayes, 0 nays for this item.
All right, the motion passes. And now, Mr. Burke, I'm going to turn it to you to continue with the IDC report.
Thank you, Commissioner Calkins. Good afternoon, Commissioners. You should have all received the IDC's 2025 annual report in your packets. The report has also been posted online for the general public. The report contains detailed background information on the IDC and shows the limited financial activity in 2025, consisting solely of interest earnings on the income side and including staff time and audit fees on the expense side. You've all seen this before, so I'll keep this refresher brief. The Port's IDC was established in 1982 to facilitate industrial development in King County by providing private companies a way to access the tax-exempt municipal market for specific projects that meet strict criteria. and that occur on port property, as Director Metric pointed out. As noted in the packet, IDCs have seen very little activity in the last few decades due to federal tax law changes mostly. Since 1986, the port has only seen 2 projects funded through its IDC. The only debt currently outstanding belongs to Delta Airlines and has a final bullet maturity scheduled for 2030. Staff recommends leaving the current fund balance in place to cover annual expenditures until that debt matures. The port remains open to using the IDC as a helpful funding tool for capital investment. We have heard about some interest in IDCs given the current rate environment and market conditions, but that interest has not materialized into much actual activity more broadly, and we haven't heard of any interest in the port's IDC specifically. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Directors, do you have any questions for Ian at this time?
Nope. Thank you.
All right. Hearing no further business of the Port of Seattle Industrial Development Corporation, the IDC annual meeting is now adjourned. The time is 12:51 p.m. The Port of Seattle Commission meeting is now reconvened. We are now at presentations and staff reports. Clerk Hart, please read the next item into the record, and then Executive Director Metric will introduce it.
Thank you. This is agenda item 11A, City of Bellevue Grand Connection Tax Increment Area Briefing.
Commissioners, nearly 2 decades ago, the Port of Seattle heavily invested in East Rail, a multimodal former BSNF rail corridor spanning 42 miles along the east side of Lake Washington. That investment launched an initiative to connect our region, and today's agenda item continues in that same spirit. Today, we will receive a presentation from our partners at the City of Bellevue regarding a creation of a tax increment area to help fund the Grand Connection project in downtown Bellevue. This TIF supports a vision to finally connect the multimodal East Rail corridor to the downtown employment area of Bellevue, which is one of the state's top regions for economic activity. Tax increment areas are typically capped at $200 million and don't typically require affected jurisdictions to opt in for participation. However, last year, the legislature passed House Bill 2451, which allows for an increased threshold with authorization to exceed the previous $200 million threshold up to $500 million. Because of that change, the governing body of each taxing district located within this project's TIA, including the Port of Seattle, must approve by majority vote full or partial participation in the project. If not approved, the taxing district's portion of regular property taxes will not be directed to the city for this purpose. I appreciate the time that the City of Bellevue has spent with our finance and government relations staff to understand the vision for the Grand Connections program, the potential benefit for Bellevue, the state in our port, and the strategy for this TIF. I will turn it over now to Nate Caminos, Director of Government Relations, to share more about this and introduce our guest presenters from the City of Bellevue. Nate.
Thank you, Executive Director Metric, and good afternoon, Commissioners. I'll be brief as I'll flag just 2 items for your awareness before handing the floor to Samantha St. John to deliver the introduction of our City of Bellevue representatives. I want to thank several port staff from Economic Development, Finance, and Legal who worked alongside us here this past year and a half as we've held many meetings, briefings, and documents to get us here today. John Flanagan, our State Government Relations Senior Manager, and Chris Wimsatt, our CFO, are also virtually sitting in this team's meeting with us should you have any questions for staff at the end of the presentation. I also wanted to note that following today's presentation and conversation with the City of Bellevue today, Port staff will plan to come back to you at our April 28th Commission meeting with a resolution for your consideration to approve the City of Bellevue's tax increment financing proposal for the Grand Connection project. And with that, I will now hand it over to Samantha St. John to introduce our guests.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So building on Executive Director Metric's overview and Nate Caminos' introduction, I want to briefly underscore why this conversation matters for the port and for our broader regional partnerships. As noted, our investment in the East Rail corridor nearly 2 decades ago was about more than just infrastructure. It was about shaping long-term connectivity across our region. Today, we're seeing that vision continue to evolve, particularly as communities like Bellevue look to better integrate East Trail into their urban cores. The Grand Connection project represents a significant opportunity to link a growing downtown employment center with a regional multimodal corridor that the port helped bring to life. From a government relations perspective, we've been closely engaged with the city staff and stakeholders to better understand both the mechanics of this proposed tax increment area and its potential impacts on the port. As Director Metrick mentioned, the recent legislative changes have created a new framework, one that gives partners like the port a more active role in determining participation. This makes conversations like today's especially important as they help inform how we evaluate alignment with our economic development, mobility, and regional access priorities. We appreciate the collaboration and transparency the city has brought to this process, and today's presentation is an opportunity for commissioners to hear directly from them about the project vision, financing strategy, and anticipated outcomes. So with that, I'm pleased to introduce our partners from City of Bellevue, who will walk us through the Grand Connection project and the proposed tax increment area, beginning with Deputy Mayor Dave Hamilton.
Sorry, I cut out there for a second. At this point, you guys still hear me?
Can you hear me?
All right. All right. Did you guys wrap up the presentation?
No, we have Deputy Mayor Hamilton. Are you there? Can you?
I can hear you.
I can hear you now. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay.
My connection cut out, and I just wanted to make sure, and not everybody was lost. It was just me. Okay, back to you guys. Sorry about that.
Very good. I wonder if we could just maybe move to the first slide there, if we could. But yes, thank you so much, President Calkins, commissioners. We appreciate the port's partnership and shared commitment to strengthening our region. And while we're here today to discuss the Grand Connection crossing, we do not view it as just a local project, but a truly regional mobility and economic development initiative that advances goals we jointly care about. The port has a long and meaningful history of transformational investments, including East Trail, Startup 425, small business grants, and the Grand Connection builds on that legacy. As I toured the Wilburton Trestle last week, I saw firsthand how the region is redefining our multimodal systems, not just as a way to get around, but as an exciting destination in their own right. These enhancements benefit residents, workers, and visitors across the East Side and throughout the region. Today's briefing outlines how tax increment financing enables us as partners to make a shared investment in a project that delivers long-term value for participating tax districts, including the port. Next slide, please. I will start by sharing Bellevue's vision for the Grand Connection crossing, which is the integral piece to a long envisioned civic corridor that will link Bellevue's high growth areas through a series of vibrant public spaces and multimodal improvements, redefining how people move through and experience our city. We'll then provide a high-level overview of the mechanics of TIF and what participation means for the port. We'll close with the next steps for TIF adoption, which requires formal opt-in from all affected taxing districts, including the port. Next slide, please. The Grand Connection crossing closes a critical gap in the east-west corridor that exists between City Hall Plaza to the west and Wilburton on the east side of 405. Once complete, the community will have a half-mile pathway of dedicated space to more safely and comfortably walk, bike, or roll over the freeway and experience a connected urban core. Bellevue is aligning our policy and infrastructure to accelerate workforce and affordable housing delivery. Within the past year, our City Council has made visionary updates to zoning and has supercharged affordable housing initiatives, which will maximize the transformational potential of this public works project. Construction of the crossing directly supports 15,000 future housing units planned in Wilburton, improving equitable access to jobs, services, and transit throughout the east side. Next slide. The project also strengthens our regional competitiveness by creating a distinctive, connected public space that attracts residents, workers, and travelers, advancing economic development objectives shared by Bellevue and the port. Imagine a typical cruise ship passenger arriving at Pier 66 or Pier 91 with a few hours before a flight home through SEA. With light rail access, these visitors can easily spend time in Bellevue, shopping downtown, exploring the Arts District, or visiting Maidenbower Bay. The Grand Connection crossing makes that visit easy, fun, and intuitive. A traveler can walk, bike, or roll across the crossing into Wilburton, stop at local shops, visit the botanical garden, enjoy lunch along the corridor, or simply spend time in a vibrant public space. The crossing unlocks the incredible 42-mile East Trail to many more users, a rail-to-trail corridor where the port's long-term leadership has been instrumental. This kind of seamless, walkable experience is what HR&A found drives more leisure trips, longer stays, and higher retail spending, which in turn supports more jobs in Bellevue's hospitality, retail, and tourism sectors. The crossing makes Bellevue another destination for the millions of cruise passengers who already pass through our region each year. Next slide. Wilburton represents one of the region's largest opportunities to deliver mixed income housing near high capacity transit. Bellevue's June 2025 upzone enables towers up to 450 feet in Wilburton, but major development will not occur at the desired scale without the east-west connection provided by the crossing. Developers have been clear that the project is essential to improving access, reducing risk, and enabling financial feasibility. The area is already a magnet for global employers who depend on strong mobility networks and attractive, accessible locations to compete for talent. As employers continue to relocate or expand in Bellevue, the crossing will unlock new and sustainable journeys to work. The crossing's endpoint in Wilburton connects directly with East Trail and integrates the city with 175 miles of trail used by over 500,000 East Siders. May have gotten a little off on my slides, but I'm going to pass the mic to John Risha, City of Bellevue Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Council President, Commissioners. Next slide, please. So as we begin to look at this project, we have a multitude of tiers of funding that we've brought into it. It is roughly a $230 million project. Between contributions received to date plus a pretty significant general fund contribution, we're already at about 46.75 million of the funding. The tax increment financing component of it would bring in an additional 20 to 30% of the final construction costs. Next slide, please. As we think about tax increment financing, it is a concept to be able to invest that future value back into the project area and really help it grow as a bit of a supercharger, if you might think of it that way. Essentially, how it works is at the time of adoption, the base assessed value for the district is held as a number. And for this district, it represents $489 million across 63 acres and about 33 parcels. What happens then is each district would continue to collect property taxes on those base assessed value, while the growth, as it would normally be in regular property tax new construction, is called incremental value, and that would be a contribution to the project or the debt financing in our particular case. And at the end of that, all of that regular value continues back then to the base districts. So it is a way to participate in that development process. Next slide. This map here starts to identify what that district looks like. On January 14th of 2026, we had delivered to the state treasurer our overall analysis of the district. We had worked very, very closely with our development community to identify the properties that are most likely to develop and also that are not going to be housing, because many of the properties that surround this district are going to be housing and will take advantage of our multifamily tax exemption and therefore not be able to contribute property taxes. So state law allows us to have a bit of an odd shape for our district. This district, as I said, it had to be within 500 million. Ours turned out to be 489 million, which represents 0.06% of the entire King County assessed value. So a very small fraction of your overall tax base. During the process of analysis, we were required to look at 3 different scenarios. We had a full, a phased, and a market responsive or limited build out. We as a jurisdiction really look to that most conservative limited build out because frankly, I don't want to put our general fund at risk because ultimately the bonds that will be issued will be general obligation bonds, and we want to make sure that we have a robust, multi-sourced funding package so that we've got monies coming in from a variety of locations. Next slide. And I'm going to turn to Bob Stowe, our consultant, who has done a lot of the analysis with us to take you for the next piece of the journey.
Thank you, John. It's nice to be here with all of you. So this slide highlights 2 key facts related to Bellevue's tax increment area. The first is that the port will contribute $1.4 million in tax increment revenues to the city over the TIA's expected 25-year period. And secondly, when adopting its annual property tax levy, the port can include what's called an increment add-on, a provision allowed for under the TIF Act. This is similar to how the port adds new construction value on top of its highest lawful levy. And this mechanism allows the port to grow its levy and fully recover all the revenues that contributed to Bellevue. And this is commonly referred to as the no harm provision of the TIF Act. It ensures that the port can make itself whole.
Next slide. So where are we in the process? We are coming close to fruition. Today, we're here to request Commission take action on the TIF. Other jurisdictions and districts are in the process of considering. All of those are going on. We are targeting the last date for our council to be able to act for it to be effective before the June 1 deadline would be May 19th. And so we have a series of decisions amongst various jurisdictions that are all having what I characterize as very positive conversations and feeling pretty good, though I can't predict what the final votes will be, of course. With that, I want to thank you for your time, for your consideration, and we're available should there be any questions that have come up. And again, I'd like to thank your staff for great participation in this process. It has been a lot of work to get to this point, and thank you very much.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Bob, and especially thank you, Deputy Mayor Hamilton, for joining us today. Really appreciate it. With that, I do want to open it up to Commissioners Muhammad and Hasegawa for any questions or comments. Commissioner Hasegawa.
I wanted to thank you for the thought leadership and just the comprehensive planning that's gone into this, and just express my excitement for new build, what it can mean for our community members, our beloved constituents over on the east side. I think a lot of times folks on the east side don't realize how the port is relevant with them, but we recognize that the role that our constituents on the east side play in creating a healthy and vibrant economy, and housing access and urban build and density are all mission critical for us to, as a region, reaching our goals. And I thought you just so beautifully described the accessibility, the connectivity, and the appreciation for the kind of world that we're all living in. I am so pleased to see this project, and I just want to add how an investment now is going to grow our tax base in the long run, right? And this is exactly what it looks like to meaningfully grow as population continues to grow over the course of time. We know that over 1 million people are going to relocate or call this region home over by 2035. And that density, by making sure that we're keeping pace with that and putting people in places that they can call home and pay their taxes, and it's all contributing to a thriving society. And so everything that we do at the Port of Seattle is long game. It's in the context of what we're doing for better returns 10, 15, 50 years down the road. I am so pleased to be in support of this, and that we are taking this up in an expedited fashion. Don't let us get in the way of really good progress. Thank you so much for all your work.
Commissioner Mahoney.
Thank you for the time, and thank you for the informative presentation. I did receive a preview of this beforehand, and it was very helpful, and I think it's very helpful for the listening public as we consider these investments. I'm also proud to support the TIF today. I think it's a smart tool where the investment is relatively small, but the return will be significant for the region. And so I do look forward to supporting that today. The impact is clear. I really appreciated how you broke that down, talking about how it will create more jobs in retail, hospitality, and in the tourism sector. And, I think it was important that you also highlighted the housing units that this project will specifically contribute to. 15,000 housing units is not small, and very important to the region. And I think for the East Side, we want to continue partnerships there and want to support projects that are happening on that end. And I think the one thing I would add is this opportunity does also reflect the port's role in moving this project forward as a countywide partner. It would be great to see just the thoughtful ways to highlight this contribution and to showcase opportunities for folks who are in the East Side that are connected to the port, both the maritime and the aviation sector. These are both sectors that are creating strong living wage jobs. And we want folks on the East Side to know about the great work that happens at the port and for people to feel excited about those sectors. And so if there's ways throughout this project, if there's ways to showcase that and signage, things like that, I think that is something that will be small, but would go a long way. Again, I want to thank all of the staff, the briefings that we had already received, and just moving this forward in a thoughtful way. Thank you for the time.
I had two thoughts when listening to the presentation. The first is something Commissioner Hoskell shared, which is the move toward density in the near neighborhoods to Bellevue's downtown. It just seems so smart in terms of the city planners to think about ways to upzone areas that have accessibility to those service offerings and jobs, and making that connection over 405 makes just so much sense from that newly densified area to the downtown area. I also, I'm really proud of our predecessors on the commission who made a choice years ago to purchase the East Rail section from BNSF. It was a big, I think it was $80-some million, and then that facilitated sales to different municipalities to piece this all together. And when I joined the commission in 2018, we had a celebration with Kirkland as one of the last pieces was put into place to finalize that. And, you know, that effort on the east side, I think, really has enabled this opportunity because it connects right to East Rail. And finally, I would just commend everyone to take a look at the article in the Seattle Times today around the Wilburton Trestle and the, you know, challenges of any project like this, rehabilitating that bridge to be useful for bike and ped infrastructure. But what a gem that will be for the communities, and how that will link up to this project as it goes forward. And so happily support it. You know, relatively nominal impacts financially for the Port of Seattle, but I think if you look at it in a short time horizon, if you look at it in long horizon, it's really increasing value of property in that area and reducing congestion on the thoroughfares, allowing people to use bikes and their feet to get to and from places, and freeing up space for last mile deliveries and the kinds of stuff that we specialize in at the seaport in particular. So I think this is really a win in many ways for us. And so congratulations to you all. Great work for putting this together. And I'm going to strongly support it when it comes before us. Any other thoughts or comments, commissioners or Executive Director Metric, on this topic?
No.
Commissioner, I was just going to say, I just want to say, deeply appreciate Deputy Mayor Hamilton, John, and Bob speaking about this, but also Diane Carlson. I've had great conversations with the city manager at Bellevue and about this issue, but also join our common issues as well. And I appreciate that continuing partnership at that level with the city of Bellevue.
Terrific. All right, thank you again so much. At this time, we are to questions on referral to committee and closing comments. Are there any closing comments at this time from commissioners or committee referrals? Hearing none, Executive Director Metric, any closing comments for you today?
Not today. Thanks, commissioners, for your attention on these issues.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today. Hearing no further comments and having no further business, if there is no objection, we are adjourned at 1:17 p.m. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.